Welcome back to the Sunny Stampin' Studio. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make this Christmas card that features Stampin' Up's felt flurries. They were available in the 2008 Holiday Mini Catalog, and then were brought back just recently and put in Stampin' Up's clearance rack. Now, I'm not sure if they're still there, but if you go take a look at the Stampin' Up website, you may still be able to find them. Why don't we get started? First thing you're going to need is a piece of chocolate chip cardstock. This cardstock is 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. Now I'm going to run my embossing buddy along the top of the cardstock, and then I'm going to take my Versamark ink pad and the swirl stamp from my Baroque Motifs stamp set. And I'm just going to flip my stamp over, and I'm going to cover it in Versamark ink. And you do that just by patting your ink pad all over the surface of the stamp. I'm now going to stamp it along the top half of my chocolate chip cardstock. Like so. Now I'm not sure if you can just faintly see the outline in the video or not. Once you've done that, you want to sprinkle on some heat and stick powder. Now I keep all my powders and glitters and embossing powders in plastic containers. I just find it's easier to work with and it's less messy. So you just want to make sure you cover it with the heat and stick powder and then turn it over and just give it a few gentle flicks to get rid of any excess powder. We now need to melt this with the embossing heat tool. So it's going to get loud for a few minutes. As you can see, it actually heats very quickly. Next thing you're going to need is some of the champagne glitter, and I believe this is from Stampin' Up's Fine Galaxy collection, although I will have to double check on that. And I'm just going to scoop it over the heat and stick powder. Now you will notice as you're doing this that glitter is going to get stuck, not just on the heat and stick powder, but on other parts of your cardstock as well. So you are going to tap as much of it off as you can, and then of course flip your cardstock over and just give it a few gentle flicks until you get as much off as you can. So set your glitter aside for a moment, and you now need to give it another shot of heat to set the glitter into the heat and stick powder. You do have to watch very carefully as you're doing this, because you don't notice as obvious a change as when the heat and stick powder melts. You just kind of see a faint shimmer across the surface. Once the glitter is set, you can then go ahead and take some kind of a stipple brush or soft bristle paintbrush and just brush off any excess glitter. Once that's done, you're going to take a piece of designer paper. This is from the Merry Moments collection, and it's a 2-inch piece by 5. And I'm actually not going to use Dotto. I'm going to use my snail adhesive. And I want to align that with the bottom edge of my chocolate chip cardstock and then stick it down. So we can now go ahead and set that aside for a moment. Now grab yourself a piece of Very Vanilla cardstock. This is 1 inch by 5 1/4 inches, and I'm just going to put some Dotto adhesive in the middle and stick that down onto my grid paper, like so. I now want to stamp my greeting on there, and I've got it already set up on my imaging sheet from my Stamp-A-Majig. It's Peace on Earth, and it's from the stamp set for the holidays, which is in the current 2009 Holiday Mini Catalog. And now that is only available until January the 5th, 2010. So if this is a stamp set you fall in love with, you're going to want to grab it before then. So I'm just inking it up in chocolate chip classic ink, and then I'm going to stamp right onto my strip. You can carefully peel that off and then grab your chocolate chip ink and take a wedge of stamping sponge, dab it on your ink pad, and then just carefully drag it around the edges of your very vanilla cardstock. I find that it just gives a really nice look. It's a little bit more of a vintage or aged look. Once you've done that, you can now take a very vanilla cardstock piece that is 5 1/4 inches by 4 inches, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to take my sponge and I'm going to drag it all along the edges with chocolate chip classic ink. Now that you've done that, you can take your chocolate chip cardstock that has your glitter on it, and you can put snail adhesive on it, and then center and stick it to the very vanilla cardstock piece. Now I'm just aligning it with my grid lines, because I just find if it's straight in front of me, it's a lot easier to visually center my cardstock mats. So once you're happy with the placement, just go ahead and stick it down. And then you're now going to take your cardstock strip, and you can put it on dimensionals. I did do that for the other card, but in this case I think I'm just going to keep it flat. If you're doing a lot of these cards, then you want to be as conservative using your supplies as you can. And I'm actually just going to lower this a little bit more. So as you can see, it does cover the overlap between the designer paper and the cardstock. Now that I've done that, I can go ahead and take my snail adhesive, and then I can go and center and stick this onto my real red card. And this is a 4 1/4 by 11 inch piece of cardstock, which I scored at 5 1/2 inches, and then folded in half. Now as the finishing touch, I want my felt flurry. This is a red felt flurry, and I'm going to attach it to my card using a mini glue dot. So just like that. And then the next thing I want to do is to grab a large vanilla half back pearl, which I'm going to stick onto a mini glue dot, and then I'm going to center that onto the snowflake and stick it down. And there you have it, you're done your card. Well, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I look forward to stamping with you again.